What if I told you that age isn't what makes a man attractive? His mindset is. The biggest mistake people make is assuming younger men can't offer emotional depth, loyalty, or commitment. But what if the exact opposite is true? Stay with me, because by the end of this talk, you might completely change the way you think about relationships and attraction. One of the biggest myths people continue to believe is that age automatically makes someone emotionally mature. We've been conditioned to think that the older a person becomes, the wiser, calmer, and more capable they are of handling relationships. But real life doesn't always follow that script. Emotional maturity isn't measured by birthdays, gray hair, or the number of years someone has lived. It's measured by how a person communicates, how they handles conflict, how they respond under pressure, and how they treat the people who matter most. You can meet someone who has decades of life experience, yet still avoids accountability, struggles to express emotions, and repeats the same unhealthy relationship patterns over and over again. At the same time, you can meet someone significantly younger who has developed self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a genuine desire to build a healthy partnership. That's why judging someone's relationship potential based solely on age can cause you to overlook qualities that actually determine long-term happiness. Many people confuse experience with wisdom, but they are not the same thing. Experience simply means you've lived through certain situations. Wisdom comes from reflecting on those situations, learning from mistakes, and choosing to grow because of them. Some people experience the same lesson 20 different times and never change. Others face a challenge once, learn everything they need to learn, and become stronger because of it. Emotional maturity grows through self-reflection, accountability, and a willingness to improve, not through the passage of time alone. A younger man who actively works on understanding himself may possess far greater emotional stability than someone much older who has never questioned his own behavior. That's why making assumptions based on age often leads people to inaccurate conclusions about someone's true character. Another reason this misconception exists is because society often equates confidence with maturity. Older individuals may appear more confident simply because they have spent more years navigating life. However, confidence without emotional awareness can easily become arrogance. True emotional maturity reveals itself in quieter ways. It shows in the ability to listen without immediately becoming defensive. It appears in someone who can apologize sincerely instead of protecting their ego. It becomes visible in the person who can disagree respectfully without turning every conversation into a battle. These qualities cannot be purchased with time. They must be developed intentionally through personal growth and emotional discipline. In relationships, emotional maturity becomes even more important than age because attraction alone cannot sustain a meaningful connection. Every couple eventually encounters disagreements, misunderstandings, stress, and moments of uncertainty. During those moments, it doesn't matter who is older. What matters is who remains calm enough to communicate honestly, who is willing to compromise, who chooses respect over pride, and who focuses on solving problems instead of creating new ones. A younger partner who possesses these qualities contributes far more to a healthy relationship than someone older who relies only on experience while avoiding responsibility. Stability comes from emotional consistency, not from the number of candles on a birthday cake. It's also important to recognize that younger generations have often been encouraged to discuss emotions more openly than previous generations. Many have grown up in an environment where conversations about mental health, communication, boundaries, and emotional intelligence are more common than ever before. While this doesn't mean every younger man is emotionally mature, it does mean many have had greater exposure to ideas that encourage self-awareness and healthier relationship habits. They may be more comfortable expressing vulnerability, seeking personal growth, or admitting when they don't have all the answers. Those qualities strengthen relationships because they create openness instead of emotional distance. Another overlooked aspect of maturity is adaptability. Life constantly changes, careers evolve, families grow, unexpected challenges appear, and priorities shift over time. Emotionally mature people understand that relationships require flexibility rather than rigid expectations. A younger man who embraces learning, accepts feedback, and welcomes growth may adapt to life's transitions much more effectively than someone older who believes changing is unnecessary. The willingness to evolve is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity because it reflects humility rather than ego. Respect also plays a central role in emotional maturity. Respect means valuing another person's opinions even when they differ from your own. It means supporting your partner's ambitions instead of feeling threatened by them. It means communicating honestly without manipulation, controlling behavior, or unnecessary games. A younger man who consistently demonstrates respect through his actions creates emotional safety within the relationship. That sense of safety allows trust to grow naturally because both people feel heard, valued, and appreciated. These behaviors are choices, not automatic results of getting older. Perhaps the greatest indicator of emotional maturity is accountability. Mature individuals don't spend their lives blaming former partners, difficult circumstances, or bad luck for every problem they encounter. Instead, they ask themselves what they could have done differently and how they can become better moving forward. This mindset transforms relationships because it replaces defensiveness with growth. A younger man who willingly accepts responsibility for his actions is demonstrating a level of maturity that many people never achieve, regardless of age. Accountability creates trust, and trust is the foundation upon which every meaningful relationship is built. One of the most refreshing qualities that many younger men bring into a relationship is their energy. This isn't simply about physical fitness or the ability to stay active for longer hours. It's about the way they approach life with curiosity, excitement, and a genuine willingness to embrace new experiences. Energy is contagious. When you're around someone who is enthusiastic about building a future, trying new things, solving problems, and making the most of everyday moments, that mindset naturally influences the relationship. It creates an environment where both people feel encouraged to grow rather than settle into routines that slowly drain emotional connection. Relationships thrive when both partners continue discovering life together instead of merely existing side by side. A younger man often approaches life with the belief that there is still so much to learn, achieve, and experience, and that perspective can make the relationship feel alive rather than predictable. Optimism is another characteristic that is often underestimated. Optimism doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending life is perfect. It means believing that challenges can be overcome and that difficult situations don't have to define the future. Every relationship will eventually face obstacles. There will be moments of uncertainty, stress, disappointment, and unexpected change. The difference lies in how those situations are approached. Someone who naturally looks for solutions instead of dwelling on problems creates a healthier emotional environment. Younger men are often more willing to adapt, explore alternatives, and believe that things can improve with effort. That hopeful attitude becomes especially valuable during difficult periods because it encourages teamwork rather than hopelessness. Another reason energy matters so much is because relationships require continuous effort. They aren't sustained by attraction alone. Communication, affection, shared experiences, and emotional investment all require intention. A partner who brings enthusiasm into the relationship often inspires both people to remain emotionally engaged, whether it's planning a spontaneous weekend trip, learning a new hobby together, supporting each other's personal goals, or simply finding joy in everyday conversations. That willingness to stay emotionally present prevents the relationship from becoming stagnant. Many people underestimate how powerful small moments of excitement can be. They keep the emotional connection fresh and remind both partners why they chose each other in the first place. There is also something incredibly attractive about someone who still believes in possibilities rather than limitations. Younger men often approach life with fewer assumptions about what cannot be done. Instead of immediately focusing on obstacles, they ask how something might be possible. This mindset doesn't guarantee success, but it creates resilience. A relationship benefits greatly when one or both partners believe that challenges are opportunities to learn instead of reasons to give up. Optimism encourages perseverance, and perseverance is one of the qualities that helps relationships survive difficult seasons. It's important to understand that energy isn't about being loud, constantly social, or endlessly adventurous. Emotional energy can be just as important as physical energy. It's the willingness to invest time, attention, and genuine interest into another person's life. It's asking thoughtful questions, celebrating small victories, remembering important details, and showing consistent appreciation. These actions communicate that the relationship remains a priority. Younger men who actively engage in these behaviors often create a sense of emotional closeness because they are fully present rather than emotionally distant. Another advantage of optimism is the openness to personal growth. Many younger men recognize that they are still developing as individuals. Rather than pretending to have every answer, they may be more comfortable learning from mistakes, accepting constructive feedback, and improving themselves over time. This willingness to evolve benefits the relationship because growth becomes a shared journey rather than an individual struggle. Instead of resisting change, they often see it as a natural part of becoming a better partner, a better communicator, and a better person. Relationships flourish when both individuals are committed to continuous improvement instead of believing they have already reached their final version. Enthusiasm for the future can also strengthen emotional intimacy. A partner who enjoys talking about future goals, shared dreams, travel plans, financial ambitions, family aspirations, or personal achievements creates a sense of direction within the relationship. Conversations become filled with possibility instead of routine. Looking forward together gives both people something meaningful to build toward, reinforcing the idea that they are creating a life rather than simply reacting to circumstances. That shared excitement becomes a powerful source of motivation because both partners feel invested in a common vision. Many people mistakenly assume that optimism reflects inexperience, but optimism is often a choice. It is the decision to keep believing in meaningful connections despite disappointment, to continue trusting despite past heartbreak, and to remain hopeful even when life presents challenges. A younger man who chooses optimism isn't avoiding reality. He is choosing resilience over cynicism. That mindset creates emotional stability because it encourages solutions, patience, and collaboration instead of constant negativity, making everyday interactions feel lighter, more supportive, and filled with genuine encouragement for whatever challenges and opportunities lie ahead. One of the strongest foundations of any successful relationship is the ability to grow together rather than grow apart. A relationship should never feel like one person has reached the finish line while the other is still trying to catch up. Instead, it should feel like two individuals choosing to evolve side by side, supporting each other's ambitions, celebrating each other's achievements, and learning from every stage of life together. This is one of the reasons why I believe mutual growth matters far more than age. A younger man who is genuinely committed to becoming a better version of himself often brings an attitude of progress into the relationship. He doesn't expect perfection from himself or his partner. Instead, he understands that meaningful relationships are built through continuous learning, honest communication, and shared experiences that shape both people over time. Growth begins with curiosity. People who are willing to learn remain open to new ideas, different perspectives, and healthier ways of handling relationships. Curiosity allows someone to ask questions instead of making assumptions. It encourages understanding instead of judgment. When two people are curious about each other's dreams, fears, values, and goals, they continue discovering new layers of the relationship long after the initial excitement fades. Many couples stop growing because they assume they already know everything about one another. They stop asking meaningful questions, stop having deep conversations, and stop creating new experiences together. Over time, familiarity turns into routine, and routine slowly replaces emotional connection. Mutual growth keeps that connection alive because both partners remain interested in who the other person is becoming rather than only who they were when the relationship began. Another important aspect of growing together is the willingness to accept change. Every individual changes throughout life. Careers evolve, priorities shift, confidence develops, personal values mature, and new responsibilities emerge. Expecting someone to remain exactly the same forever is unrealistic. Healthy relationships recognize that change is inevitable and choose to adapt together rather than resist it. A younger man who embraces personal development often understands that growth is not a threat to the relationship, but an opportunity to strengthen it. Instead of fearing change, he may encourage both partners to pursue their ambitions while maintaining emotional closeness through honest communication and mutual respect. Mutual growth also requires humility. No one enters a relationship with perfect communication skills or complete emotional intelligence. Every person has weaknesses, blind spots, and habits that need improvement. The difference lies in whether someone is willing to acknowledge those areas and work on them. Humility allows people to admit when they are wrong without seeing it as a personal defeat. It creates space for meaningful conversations instead of endless arguments driven by ego. A partner who says, "I can learn from this," contributes far more to a healthy relationship than someone who insists on being right all the time. That willingness to improve creates an atmosphere where both individuals feel safe enough to be honest without fear of constant criticism. Shared growth also extends beyond emotional development. It includes building financial stability together, supporting each other's careers, encouraging healthier lifestyles, developing better communication habits, and working toward common life goals. Relationships become stronger when both people feel like teammates rather than competitors. Success should never become something that creates distance or insecurity. Instead, one partner's achievement should inspire the other to continue growing as well. A younger man who celebrates his partner's accomplishments instead of feeling intimidated by them demonstrates emotional confidence and maturity. This kind of encouragement creates a relationship where both individuals feel empowered to pursue their full potential without worrying that personal success will damage the connection they have built together. One of the most beautiful aspects of growing together is that mistakes become opportunities instead of permanent failures. Every relationship experiences misunderstandings. Words are sometimes spoken in frustration, expectations become unclear, and disagreements are unavoidable. What determines the future of the relationship is not the absence of mistakes, but the willingness to learn from them. Couples who grow together examine challenges honestly, identify what needs to improve, and make intentional changes moving forward. They don't repeat the same unhealthy patterns simply because they have become familiar. Instead, every difficulty becomes a lesson that strengthens trust, communication, and emotional intimacy. Mutual growth also means inspiring each other to become better people outside the relationship. A healthy partnership should never limit personal development. It should encourage it. Both individuals should feel motivated to expand their knowledge, improve their character, develop new skills, and pursue meaningful goals. When one person's growth benefits the other, the relationship becomes a source of inspiration rather than restriction. A younger man who values continuous learning often brings fresh ideas, adaptability, and enthusiasm that encourage both partners to keep evolving together instead of becoming comfortable with emotional stagnation. Another reason mutual growth is so powerful is because it creates resilience during life's inevitable challenges. Whether facing career setbacks, financial uncertainty, family responsibilities, or personal struggles, couples who have developed a habit of learning and adapting together are far more prepared to handle adversity. They don't view obstacles as signs that the relationship is failing. They view them as moments that require greater teamwork, patience, and understanding. That shared commitment to progress strengthens trust because both partners know they are moving in the same direction, continually choosing growth over comfort, understanding over assumption, and partnership over personal pride. One of the greatest misconceptions about relationships is the belief that experience automatically makes someone a better partner. People often assume that because someone has lived longer, dated more people, or been through more relationships, they naturally know how to love, communicate, and maintain a healthy connection. But experience alone guarantees none of those things. A person can repeat the same unhealthy habits for decades without ever learning from them. They can continue carrying emotional baggage, refusing accountability, and treating every relationship exactly the same. What truly determines the quality of a relationship is not how much experience someone has, but how much respect they consistently show. Respect is the foundation upon which trust, communication, affection, and emotional security are built. Without respect, even the strongest attraction eventually fades. With respect, two people can overcome challenges, misunderstandings, and differences while continuing to strengthen their connection over time. Respect begins with seeing another person as an equal rather than someone to control or change. In healthy relationships, neither partner feels the need to dominate every conversation or make every decision. Instead, both individuals recognize that each person has unique experiences, perspectives, strengths, and dreams that deserve to be valued. A younger man who genuinely respects his partner doesn't measure her worth by age, appearance, social status, or what others think about the relationship. He values her opinions because he believes they matter. He listens because he wants to understand rather than simply waiting for his turn to speak. This type of respect creates emotional safety, allowing honest conversations to happen without fear of being dismissed, ignored, or judged. Listening is one of the clearest demonstrations of respect, yet it is surprisingly rare. Many people hear words without truly listening to the emotions behind them. They interrupt, assume they already know the answer, or focus only on defending themselves. Genuine respect means giving someone your full attention, acknowledging their feelings, and trying to understand their perspective even when you disagree. A respectful partner doesn't treat every disagreement as a competition that must be won. Instead, he approaches conflict with the intention of finding understanding rather than proving superiority. That mindset transforms arguments into conversations and prevents small misunderstandings from becoming lasting emotional wounds. Respect also reveals itself in everyday behavior, not only during major moments. It is shown through consistency, reliability, honesty, and consideration. It means keeping promises whenever possible, arriving on time, communicating openly, and recognizing that small actions often carry great emotional significance. A younger man who consistently follows through on his words demonstrates that his partner can rely on him. Reliability builds trust because actions begin to match intentions. Over time, those small moments accumulate into a deep sense of emotional security that no grand romantic gesture can replace. Another important aspect of respect is supporting another person's individuality. Healthy relationships are not about eliminating personal identity. They are about creating a partnership where both people continue growing as individuals while building a shared future together. A respectful partner encourages personal ambitions instead of feeling threatened by them. He celebrates achievements rather than competing against them. He understands that love should never require someone to shrink their dreams, abandon their passions, or sacrifice their sense of self. When respect exists, both partners feel free to pursue meaningful goals, knowing they will receive encouragement rather than criticism. Boundaries are another powerful expression of respect. Every person has emotional, mental, and personal boundaries that deserve recognition. Respectful partners understand that love does not give them unlimited access to another person's time, emotions, or decisions. They recognize the importance of consent, privacy, honesty, and personal space. A younger man who honors boundaries demonstrates emotional intelligence because he understands that trust grows when people feel safe rather than controlled. He doesn't confuse possessiveness with commitment or jealousy with affection. Instead, he understands that genuine closeness develops naturally when both people feel respected as independent individuals. Respect becomes even more valuable during difficult moments. It is easy to be kind when everything is going well. The true test of character appears during disagreements, stressful situations, disappointment, or emotional conflict. A respectful partner avoids insults, humiliation, manipulation, or unnecessary cruelty simply because emotions are running high. He understands that temporary anger should never justify permanent emotional damage. He chooses words carefully because he recognizes that trust can take years to build, but only moments to destroy. This level of self-control reflects emotional maturity far more than any amount of life experience. Mutual respect also creates an environment where vulnerability feels safe. Both partners become comfortable expressing fears, insecurities, hopes, and dreams because they know those feelings will be met with compassion rather than judgment. Emotional intimacy grows when people feel accepted for who they truly are, instead of feeling pressured to constantly protect themselves. A respectful relationship allows honesty to replace performance, authenticity to replace pretense, and connection to replace emotional distance. These qualities create a partnership built on genuine understanding rather than superficial attraction. Ultimately, respect influences every part of a relationship. It shapes communication, strengthens trust, encourages personal growth, protects emotional well-being, and creates stability that lasts far beyond the excitement of the early stages. While experience may teach valuable lessons, those lessons have little value unless they result in greater kindness, humility, patience, and consideration. A younger man who consistently treats his partner with dignity, values her voice, honors her boundaries, supports her ambitions, and communicates with honesty demonstrates qualities that form the foundation of a healthy and deeply fulfilling relationship. One of the biggest obstacles people face when entering relationships is not always the relationship itself. It is the opinions of everyone watching from the outside. Society has created countless rules about what relationships are supposed to look like, who should be older, who should earn more, who should make the decisions, and what kind of couples deserve acceptance. Among these expectations, one of the strongest double standards is how people react to age differences in relationships. When an older man dates a younger woman, it is often treated as something normal or even desirable. It has been portrayed in movies, celebrated in popular culture, and accepted by many communities without much questioning. Yet, when the situation is reversed, when a woman chooses a younger man, people suddenly begin asking uncomfortable questions. They assume there must be hidden motives. They question the seriousness of the relationship, or they predict that it cannot possibly last. These assumptions reveal far more about society's biases than they do about the relationship itself. Double standards exist because people become comfortable with traditions, even when those traditions no longer reflect reality. Many beliefs about relationships were created during a time when gender roles were far more rigid. Men were expected to lead financially, socially, and emotionally, while women were expected to follow those established roles. As society has evolved, women have become more independent, more financially successful, more educated, and more confident in making their own life choices. Yet many outdated expectations continue to influence how relationships are judged. Some people still believe a man must always be older in order to be respected, even though respect has nothing to do with age and everything to do with character. These assumptions ignore the individuality of the people involved and reduce relationships to stereotypes instead of recognizing them as unique partnerships. Another reason these double standards continue is because people often confuse familiarity with correctness. They accept what they have seen repeatedly without asking whether it actually makes sense. Just because a certain relationship pattern has been common for decades does not automatically mean it is the healthiest or the only acceptable option. Every successful relationship is built on qualities like trust, communication, compatibility, honesty, emotional intelligence, and shared values. None of these qualities depend on one person being older than the other. Age cannot create respect where none exists. It cannot create loyalty, kindness, or emotional maturity. Those qualities come from the individual, not the number of years they have lived. Fear of judgment also prevents many people from pursuing relationships that genuinely make them happy. Instead of asking themselves whether they feel respected, understood, and emotionally fulfilled, they become consumed by concerns about what family members, friends, co-workers, or strangers might think. This creates a dangerous situation where external approval becomes more important than personal happiness. A relationship should never be evaluated primarily through the opinions of people who are not living it. Those outside observers rarely understand the daily conversations, emotional connection, mutual support, and shared experiences that truly define a partnership. They often judge based on appearances while overlooking everything that actually matters. It is also important to recognize that criticism often says more about the person giving it than the couple receiving it. People tend to question what challenges their existing beliefs. When they see a relationship that does not fit traditional expectations, it forces them to reconsider assumptions they have held for years. That discomfort sometimes appears as criticism, jokes, skepticism, or unnecessary advice. Rather than accepting that different relationships can succeed in different ways, they attempt to protect familiar beliefs by dismissing anything that challenges them. This reaction has little to do with the actual couple and much more to do with resistance to change. Breaking these double standards requires confidence. Confidence is not about arguing with everyone who disagrees or trying to convince critics that your relationship is valid. Real confidence comes from understanding your own values clearly enough that outside opinions lose their power. When two people genuinely respect each other, communicate honestly, and build a healthy relationship, they do not need constant approval from others to validate their choices. Their focus remains on strengthening the partnership instead of responding to every judgment or misconception they encounter. Healthy relationships have always required courage, because choosing happiness sometimes means stepping outside social expectations. Every generation has challenged outdated ideas about love, marriage, partnership, and equality. Progress happens when individuals stop allowing tradition to dictate every personal decision and instead evaluate relationships based on the qualities that actually create lasting happiness. Mutual respect, emotional security, shared purpose, trust, and genuine compatibility deserve far greater attention than outdated assumptions about what society considers normal. The reality is that every relationship will be judged for something. Some couples are criticized because of age differences, others because of cultural backgrounds, career choices, financial situations, personal beliefs, or life decisions. If people constantly seek universal approval before making personal choices, they may spend their lives living according to someone else's expectations rather than their own values. Choosing a younger partner is not about rejecting tradition simply for the sake of being different. It is about recognizing that meaningful relationships are defined by the quality of the connection between two people, not by social rules created by those who will never experience that relationship firsthand. When people talk about relationships, they often focus on things that are easy to notice from the outside. They look at age differences, appearances, social expectations, or what seems acceptable according to traditional beliefs. But the truth is that the strongest relationships are rarely built on those surface-level details. They are built on compatibility. Compatibility is the ability of two people to understand each other, support each other, communicate openly, and create a life where both individuals feel valued. Age can be a factor that influences experiences and perspectives, but it is not the deciding factor that determines whether two people can build a meaningful connection. A relationship succeeds when two individuals share emotional understanding, respect, trust, and similar values. Without compatibility, even people who appear perfect together on paper can struggle to create a lasting bond. Many people believe that being closer in age automatically means two people will understand each other better. While having similar life experiences can sometimes create common ground, it does not guarantee emotional connection. Two people of the same age can have completely different personalities, priorities, communication styles, and visions for the future. At the same time, two people with an age difference can discover that they share the same values, emotional needs, and goals. What truly connects people is not simply the year they were born, but the way they think, the way they treat each other, and the way they navigate life together. Compatibility comes from understanding and acceptance, not from matching numbers on a calendar. A strong relationship requires emotional alignment. This means both partners have a similar understanding of what they want from the relationship and how they want to build their future. They may have different backgrounds or experiences, but they share a willingness to communicate, compromise, and support one another. A younger man who understands his partner's needs, respects her perspective, and is willing to grow alongside her can create a stronger connection than someone older who lacks emotional awareness. The ability to meet each other emotionally is far more important than simply being at the same stage of life according to society's expectations. Communication is another essential part of compatibility. Two people can have attraction and chemistry, but without honest communication, misunderstandings can slowly create distance. Compatible partners are not people who never disagree. They are people who know how to handle disagreements with maturity. They are willing to express their feelings, listen to each other's concerns, and find solutions together. A healthy relationship is not built on avoiding difficult conversations. It is built on knowing that both people can speak openly without fear of rejection or judgment. When communication is strong, differences become opportunities to understand each other better rather than reasons to separate. Shared values also play a major role in creating lasting compatibility. Values influence how people approach commitment, family, personal growth, finances, lifestyle choices, and future goals. Two people may come from different generations, but if they share important values and respect each other's priorities, they can create a strong foundation together. On the other hand, two people of the same age may struggle if their beliefs about relationships and life are completely different. The ability to respect and support each other's core values creates a partnership where both individuals feel secure and appreciated. Another important element of compatibility is emotional safety. Everyone wants to feel accepted, understood, and appreciated by their partner. A relationship becomes meaningful when both people can be their authentic selves without constantly worrying about being judged or criticized. Emotional safety allows trust to develop naturally because both partners know they are supported. A younger man who creates this kind of environment through kindness, patience, and understanding demonstrates qualities that strengthen the relationship regardless of the age difference. Feeling emotionally secure with someone is one of the most powerful indicators that a relationship has true potential. Compatibility also means growing in the same direction. People change throughout life, and relationships require flexibility as both individuals evolve. The strongest couples are not necessarily those who never experience differences. They are the ones who continue choosing each other while adapting to new circumstances. They encourage each other's dreams, support personal development, and find ways to maintain connection through different stages of life. A relationship becomes stronger when both partners feel like they are building something together rather than simply trying to fit into each other's lives. The idea that age determines relationship success limits people's understanding of what love and connection truly require. Age may influence certain experiences, but it cannot measure kindness, loyalty, emotional intelligence, or the ability to love deeply. Those qualities come from personal character and daily choices. The best relationships are created when two people choose each other because they feel understood, respected, and supported. They are not defined by outside opinions or traditional expectations, but by the genuine connection that exists between the two individuals who continue choosing to grow, communicate, and build a meaningful partnership together.